Hi, I'm Jay Pulaki, and this is the HRBytes podcast, where HR practitioners share their think globally and act locally digital HR agenda. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the HRBytes podcast. Our guest today is Albert Loyola. Welcome to the show, Albert. How are you today?
Amazing. Great to be here. Looking forward for our conversation.
Thank you, Albert. So, Albert, you've been in the management consulting space as a global consultant in the human and AI and human capital industry. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started here and what's really exciting you at this time in this whole revolution of technology in our workplace?
Yeah. So I started my journey maybe 15 years ago. I was working in the oil and gas industry. And I do remember that my boss told me, Albert, we're going to hire a bunch of data scientists to help us to improve the drilling operation. So back in the time, data scientist was a fancy term, and everybody was not clear on what exactly these guys are going to do. So long story short, I was exposed to what they were doing to drilling operations, how do they create efficiencies, how do they analyze data, create modeling, and so on. So then I thought, why don't we bring this to human capital and HR? That's where I started my journey in artificial intelligence when it comes to human capital and connecting talent to business value. Joined a consultant firm, and then I had the opportunity to work in different engagement, working closely with CHROs and the C-suite to start thinking about how can we bring this new technology to enable experience, but also at the same time, what's the role of HR to be able to advise the business when it comes to connecting technology, data, and employee experience.
Wonderful.
Uh,
So, there's so much technology today at the fingertips of HR practitioners and professionals. How do you think we should be approaching the automation and AI for the HR function that's taken over our collective imagination? And how should we, as HR leaders, prepare our function for this increased use of automation and AI?
so this is a question that I get all the time, and it's something that is getting a lot of attention from the C-suite all the way to the regular employee, right? So in my experience working with some Fortune 500 clients, there are 4 steps in the process. Number one is you need to prepare the organization for it, right? That means, for example, to create awareness campaigns, educational campaigns at all levels across your organization. You need to communicate clearly to your workforce and to your leadership team what's the value, how do you connect experiences with work and workplace, and have those discussions, put together different forums and make it accessible for everybody, right? And after you define that educational component and prepare your organization for AI, then you move to the second phase, what I call the alignment when it comes to link AI with business value. So that's where you spend most of your time working closely with the C-suite and the CHRO to define how do we define the automation potential? What's our vision around AI when it comes to talent and HR? And which are the specific use cases that we want to focus on currently? As you're defining that strategy, then you move to phase three, which is more around assess your current state, right? So now that you have your strategy, you have the capabilities that you need, you have the specific use cases that you want to focus on, then you need a baseline and a starting point. So that's where you focus on a specific HR capability areas within the HR function and start thinking about what's the automation potential? What's the readiness? What's the level of maturity of my HR capability areas, all the way from talent acquisition to performance and career mode? That will inform the way how you can execute and develop your strategy, which is the last stage in the process, which is activate the plan. That's where you combine the different capabilities, the priorities, the use cases, and put together an enablement plan to execute your strategy.